So there's this thing we've created called the Punk Marketing Manifesto. We think this thing has been true. The principles in this manifesto have been true forever, for 30, 40, 50 years since marketing began. Yet people haven't really followed them because it's been convenient not to. This is a reminder, and I think all the things that are going on with the digital revolution has really acted as a catalyst to change in terms of the way that people interact with brands. But the underlying principles that you need to adhere to as a marketer are very simple and very straightforward and have always been true. They're just especially relevant now. It's all these combination of factors with things like YouTube and MySpace and TiVo and multiple media and fragmentation and lack of trust in companies. All those things have come together. So if you don't adhere to these principles now, you're basically lost. And ignore them at your peril.
The idea of free media, which doesn't really exist, that people earn their media by going out and creating stories. The thought that anything these days is good publicity just because they spelled the name right, which incidentally was true many decades ago, doesn't exist anymore because brands have to be very careful. You know, the story we like to tell about, and you may have read about, was Folgers. Folgers had a very unorthodox situation involving what they thought was going to be great publicity for them, and it backfired. They released a story that said that they had a new coffee, Simply Smooth, which would help you if you felt that the coffee you were drinking hurt your stomach. And when they put this out, they thought they could do a big release and they would sell a lot. And what happened is, online, because remember, we walk down the street, we hear something, we put it online, we tell our friends, we text it to people. It's no longer this, well, I'll talk to you about it at a cocktail party. People started to question whether or not the science of Simply Smooth was real, because they had talked so publicly in this grand way in a publicity release about how they were helping Americans with their stomachs. And the New York Times picked up the story from blogs, etc., from postings. And they went and talked to people, and it turned out that the science was bogus. And the front page story was about how Folgers had tried to pull the wool over on the media. So today, it's no longer all publicity is good publicity, because in the end, if your message isn't perfect and it isn't in line with, for instance, they've got a lot of coffee at Folgers. They could have done a very good job just creating a smoother coffee and put it out there. It probably would have done very well. Now what they have are people who generally, just like anything else, just like being at the multiplex when you see a Tom Cruise movie and you say, I don't like him anymore, I'm not going to his movie. When you go to the store, you see the Folgers and you go right to Maxwell House.